Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Travel for Curious Minds, brought to you by Jules Verne. I'm Abby, your host, and I'm here with Eleni Skarveli, Director of the Greek National Tourist Board. Hello, lovely to speak to you today.
Hello, Abby.
So this is going to be a podcast, I'm presuming, all about Greece.
Hope so.
First of all, tell us a little bit about the organisation that you work for and how you bring tourists to Greece.
Well, our office here in the UK, it's one of the 17 offices abroad. So the Greek National Tourism Organization, it's really under the Ministry of Tourism in Greece, with a goal to promote Greece all over the place, all over the world. I know sometimes people think that it's not a difficult job to do, but really sometimes it's quite challenging, but also it's a great job to have, especially if you're a national.
And you are quite literally an ambassador for Greece.
A tourist counselor, I would correct you, Abby. That's the official title. Yes, exactly. Although that, living abroad for quite a long time, I really feel that a lot of Greeks, when we're outside our country, we're all ambassadors. We're small ambassadors for what representing our culture, our traditions, our history. So, yes, definitely. I think this is a title that everyone earns.
And tell me, how did you start in your role? How did you get the job? What brought you into tourism as a career?
Well, definitely was not a career that I was aiming to, but tourist came to my life out of a choice, I would say. I had the opportunity to work for the public sector and I chose tourism. I wouldn't change it right now because I really feel the industry is a great industry. Promoting your own country because you know that you want to do that. So I think that's the benefit of, at the end of the day, doing something that you love.
If you are speaking to somebody who's never been to Greece before, what is the first thing you say they must see? What should be on your bucket list of things to do in Greece?
Well, you know that is a difficult question, right? Especially coming from someone who, as our office, that we are promoting all Greek destinations. However, every time I have the question, I think it goes back to the person who asked that. So if you come to me and say, "Oh my goodness, I would love to go to a party island and have fun," and definitely, the first thing that will come to my mind, it will be Mykonos, or depending on your age, of course, or Zante or Corfu, different options. But then again, if you come back along and you say, I have a family, I have a small child, I don't know what to do. Is there a destination that it could have more options? I would always say go with the big ones for the first time. Start with something that you have to give you direct flights, opportunities like Crete and Rhodes or Kos or even Kefalonia. And then again, if somebody comes like a young couple that they wanted to be completely excluded and find out a deserted island that nobody knows, yes, there are some of them still in Greece. I would definitely recommend Folegandros or Andros or Syros, some of the smaller islands that they're not so busy but still very beautiful to visit.
I think you've alluded to it quite well there, that the islands are so different, aren't they? But what makes the islands different? Is it the people? Do they have their own cultures within the islands? There's different food on different islands. How does it resonate that these places are so different, yet they're all one country?
Yes, you're absolutely right. And that's why we feel that every island, every Greek destination has its own character. It was funny because once we visited with a group of journalists, Lesbos. So it was the first time that they were visiting this beautiful island in the northern part of Aegean. And when we arrived, a journalist came to me and he said, well, it's a beautiful island, but it doesn't look at all like Crete. And I was just like, okay, why should it look like Crete? It's not Crete, it's Lesbos. But I think this perception that if you go to one Greek island, that you have seen all of them, or if you go once in Greece, then that's it. I'm afraid it's not the case. You definitely, cannot take it out of your list, of your bucket list. You need to go to every single island or place in Greece in order to find out that it's really unique. And as you said, Abby, correctly, the food, it might be the same. You might have a Greek salad, of course, anywhere, or a cheese pie, but they will find a way to make it a little bit different. They will find a way to differentiate from the one just on the opposite island, or just from a village, close by, even within the same island. Crete, for example, a lot of times we say that it's one island, but it's almost impossible to visit one go all the different places. It's you have the option of doing different things and a lot of different experiences there, and I think that's what's the beauty with for a lot of people, that they're going back again and again.
What's local life like on these islands? We come here as tourists and we really want to get under the skin of these destinations and meet locals and hear their stories. But what is it truly like on these different islands? Island life, I suppose.
Well, life in the summer is completely different with island life in the winter, as you can imagine. There are some islands that it dropped down to half of the population that they even have during the summer. I'm not talking about travelers, of course, or the tourists that are coming in. That it could definitely make it much, much bigger. But let's say, for example, a small island. I'll give you the example of Kalimnos, with 1,000 people registered there officially. In the winter, everything is very, very quiet. People are going back to a more normal way of life, let's say, having to do with agriculture. And then in the summer, or in the spring or autumn as well, the island takes a complete different view. So they start opening up the shops, they start opening up their business, and of course that brings much more life. And because this has been happening like as part of a ritual, let's say, that you go to the island, you open up, you're waiting for the guest, you're waiting for people to come, to enjoy, to give them food, to treat them, to talk to them. Sometimes it's very, very important, have this interaction, this communication from people from all over the world, and, from a small island that, you're with only with your friends and relatives maybe, and then automatically you see people from Australia, from New Zealand, from South Africa, from all over the place. Then automatically all that blends in, and I think it makes it hospitable and open and social that I feel every time I visit Greece.
Greece is a destination, isn't it, that you can go to, you can relax. Like you said, if you want to party, there's a place to party. If you want good food, there's a place for good food. There's snorkeling, there's cruising around the islands, there's all these different things. But also, it's a fantastic destination to go and learn history, isn't it?
It's funny sometimes that when we're talking about Greece, we're not talking about culture or archaeological sites, because we automatically, as Greeks, we feel that of course it's there. You have to go before you die to Acropolis. You have to be able to see Meteora, the miracle of those monasteries, the rocks up there, and no matter how many iconic places and archaeological sites, there is always a history behind every destination. It is true. There is no region or touristic, let's say, place that it's not connected with history or with Greek mythology. So everywhere you go, there must be something that there is a story behind it, and you're eager to find it out. And giving the examples now with a new film of Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, which was shooted in Peloponnese, in the area of Pylos and Costa Navarino. This really shows how you can start from one place, but you can find a lot of places and different regions to talk about a story.
Do you have a favourite story from Greek mythology?
So what I really like, and I always say to my children, it's how Athens, Athena, the city took its name. And it's funny to see how the Athenians at that time make a choice. So the goddess Athens, Athena, came to the Athenians and said to them, at that time they were not Athenians, of course, came to the residents of the city and said, well, if I give you my name, you should have wisdom and be ready for culture and mind, anything that it has to do with sophistication. Then Poseidon, the god of water and seas, he offered them to give them power in naval, in boats, and anything that it will come to around water. And to be honest, it is a surprise that sometimes you don't choose power over mind. But the Athenians, they do choose Athena. They chose that they wanted to be educated, they wanted to have that culture and the start of the civilization with philosophy, of course, and anything that came along. And that's why, of course, they have the special goddess. It's Athena, and that's why it's called Athens and not Posidonia.
When you think of Greece and you think of home, what comes to mind? What do you think of? What do you see? What do you smell? What warms your heart?
Well, I have to go with the summer, and that's because the last couple of years I'm living abroad, so I'm choosing Greece for my holidays as well. And going back home, it's not only going back home as going back to my family and relatives and friends, but also going back to a place that it's connected with sea, with sun, with clear crystal waters, relaxation, good food, of course. We try as a family to pick always a new destination for the children, if it's possible. Yes, there are plenty of Greek destinations that as a family we haven't visited, of course, and go back to our summer house as well and enjoy this, let's say, the smoothness and the warmth as you described.
Are there any parts of Greece that have surprised you, even as someone who is Greek?
A lot of people have in their minds Greece. Some of them, they may have it as a cultural paradise, as we said, because of the history and all the archaeological sites. Some of them, they might have just a sea and sun destination, but definitely Greece has more than that to offer. The last time I visited a place, it was in Epirus, a region that is not so well known. But the tricky part with that is that I visited Epirus in the summer, not in the winter. It's usually a winter destination for Greeks. So the surprising thing for me was that I didn't have to use the air conditioning. And that in July, believe me, it is a big surprise when it comes to Greece because everyone's mind is expected to have high temperatures, and you definitely need the air conditioning, and if it's healthy or unhealthy, and everything that goes along. And in that beautiful area, in the villages of Zagori, in Epirus, and in Metsovo, I discovered the surrounding, the beautiful nature that even in July it was green. My origin, it's from a small island in the Dodecanese where we're not used to see any green, any plantation during the summer or in the winter. So having that beautiful, the mountains and nature and the river, the coldest river I've ever been, in a hot day, it really, really was a surprise. There is always going to be something new if you're having the mindset to be open and taste it and enjoy it.
That's wonderful. I really want to go. I can imagine this green, natural area in the summer, which, yeah, like you said, is just not what you expect from Greece in the height of summer at all.
Yes, yes, and beautiful food again. Sorry, I keep talking about food because for us as Greeks, it's very very important not to go to any touristic traps, but to really go to these beautiful villages that you can sit underneath the tree and really enjoy a nice taverna. That you don't have to make a book or a reservation ahead. For me, this is part of the luxury of my holidays. And then, of course, the moment you're out there, you can very easily combine it by going to one of the nice Greek islands like Folegandros, and then you can enjoy let's say, relaxing environment, but in a more luxurious way.
And as you've said, it does get very hot in the summer months. The weather can be quite extreme at times.
I have to say that the surrounding change. So when you have heat wave here in London, for example, it's definitely not the same as the heat wave that you might have sitting by the sea or sitting in Antiparos and watching the sea and enjoying the breeze. The lifestyle, again, it's much different. You don't have to wake at 7 o'clock in the morning in order to go to your job or come back at 5 o'clock, with a public transport, but you change the whole rhythm. And of course, you're doing things much later on. You might have lunch not at noon, but you will have a late lunch at 3 or 4, and then of course you might have dinner at 10 o'clock at night. So I think by adapting and going into this, let's say what the locals we will do, and going to that way of life, it's definitely what's make it, of course, to be much easier and not so scary as it might sound. Oh my goodness, it's so hot in Greece. It's actually only a few days that you might say it's unbearable, and then it's the days that we also try to warn people, don't go for a hike. This is not the ideal moment to take your bike. Just cool off and be close to the sea and water.
I love that. So where was the last place that you holidayed when you went back home when you were in Greece?
Well, I have to say, as a family, we try to choose a destination that it fits everything. My children are quite young adults in a kind of way, and also teenagers, and everyone wants a different thing. So our first choice is Rhodes. We really feel that as an island can give a lot of options. You can go around. The children will feel that they're much more to do than just staying back to the hotel. And also, for us, it's making more interesting when you have different choices for restaurants and activities throughout the day. So when we're visiting Rhodes, it's always the southern part of Rhodes, because we feel there it's more less crowded, more relaxing, and a nice place also with crystal waters to swim. And we always have a visit, a 2 days or a 3 days visit to Simi. Simi Island, it's not too far away from Rhodes. You have different ways to reach it. It's just a half an hour ride by boat, different types of boats. You can do a day excursion, or you can go by the ferry. And again, it's a very small, beautiful island that not a lot of cars are moving around. Everything is happening on the harbor. You need a boat, a ferry, a small boat to go to the next beach, which is around the island. And for me, really, it's the ideal when you want to relax, have a great restaurants to eat, and enjoy this calmness.
And as you said, you tried to go somewhere different every time. So what are you doing next then? Is it going to be different again?
For us, it's part of our culture. It's very early to decide our holidays. We're still trying to decide our Easter holidays, which is going to be in a couple of weeks soon. But I can definitely tell you that the next trip I'm doing in Greece, it's going to be in Skiathos Island, where we are organizing a sustainable travel agora, a meeting, let's say. But it will be, a great opportunity to discover and see it with different eyes. So we're going to visit and see beautiful, sustainable initiatives that the island is offering, apart from the Mamma Mia island, or the Mamma Mia product that it's well known.
Outside of Greece, then, outside of home, where else in the world sort of captures your heart? Where do you also feel that is a wonderful place to visit and you feel like it's a second home, apart from maybe London?
So yes, London feels home, definitely. But my new development, the new discovery, I would say, that I have made recently, it's Central America. So I would like to visit Argentina for the next time.
Have you visited anywhere in Central America so far?
Yes, I visited Costa Rica and Mexico.
Amazing. And how did you find them?
First of all, for Costa Rica, I was impressed. It felt really the warmth of the people, the hospitality, the open, social, very, very beautiful and fair to everywhere we were going. And even if we were going to a touristic place, I just thought that, it was so fair and so good to the travelers and the visitors. It was a really honest, let's say, relationship that you had with the people. And for me, coming from the tourist industry, I think this is most important than which hotel you stayed or what experience you had. It, of course, this is all nice to offer, but it's very, very important to find the real essence of a destination when you're talking with the people.
Thank you so much for joining me today and talking to me about everything that there is in Greece to offer. And I feel like we have just scratched the surface. There's probably so much more we could talk about and hours of conversation. So I would urge anybody who's thinking about Greece to have a look on the websites, have a look and research and choose the right island for them. Because like you said, there's different places, different islands, and choosing the right one can really make your holiday.
I hope, as I said, just have a glimpse of a little bit of Greece and sunshine and made you think that you want to go back.
A little slice of Greece today, and that's what we all need. Eleni, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.